Welcome to Seattle. Thank you guys for making it out. We're literally like 20% from Seattle, and everybody else is from all over the place. So thank you for coming to our neck of the woods. You've come to a beautiful place. I swear, at about noon, the sun's gonna just come right out. It's gonna be beautiful outside. We've taken a couple of days from your summer, so I hope you'll kind of relax and enjoy the atmosphere, spend some time outside, maybe go for a walk down by the sculpture park over here, see some pretty epic views of the Olympics. It's a really nice place just to hang out, so really enjoy yourselves. I would have to say I'm dumbfounded by the support and excitement around this event. It went really well last year, and we kind of pulled it together in a couple of months. Jennifer Wan from our marketing team was like all over it, and she also has manned the ship this year, so I want to give a big shout out to Jennifer for putting all this together. Yeah, and our entire marketing team, they have just been working around the clock, as you can imagine. There's so much stuff to put together. I am pretty sure we're not going to get into the conference business. We have some pretty incredible stuff going on. We've got a couple of epic keynotes, one I'm going to introduce in a second. We've got amazing panel conversations from really the leading mobile experts around the globe. We've got some training sessions upstairs for both our products, for folks that want to get a little extra insight. And then we've got a genius bar kind of in the back as well, if you got problems, questions, concerns, quotations, whatever. Yeah, we've got kind of a special announcement toward the end of the day, so I hope you hang around for that right before we head up to the rooftop happy hour and enjoy some sun. And then after that, we've got a little bit of a party going on later with a special musical guest, and I can't tell you about that because of his contract, which is kind of lame. But anyway, it's going to be cool, I swear. So what is this thing? What is Postback all about? It's a pretty dorky name. It's, obviously describes a server-to-server relationship where you're posting some bit of information to another server. We're hoping that here we start to build some more human-to-human relationships, and that's really what this is all about. So if you didn't come here to meet new people, you should change your mindset. We really want you to get to know folks from across the industry, and yeah, put yourself out there a little bit more than you normally would. Don't hang out with all the folks that you already know. I really believe that the best advertising campaigns that come about and that I've seen work really well come because the publishing side and the advertising side have some kind of relationship. They trust each other, they trust each other's technologies, they know they know what they're going to get, and what they're paying for. So that's what this is about. Let's connect. One major ground rule, which is the same as last year, is that I expect you to party. I don't think that's going to be a problem with this crew, but we really, really want you to have a blast. I think the bar opens at like 11 or something like that, so let's get it going, all right? We've got a pretty exciting keynote up. His name is Kevin Weil. He's the VP of Product Revenue at Twitter. You might have heard about a little bit of news that Twitter came out with a couple weeks ago, Twitter ads for mobile apps. How many of you have been tinkering around with that already? Yeah? Okay, that's probably half of you. That's pretty good. Yeah, I know a lot of you are excited about getting up and running with it and trying it out. And I think, what I like about Twitter the most in this particular scenario is that they have really interesting data. It's timely, it happens right now. It's about where people are and what they're doing. And it's not necessarily all built on, some long-lasting profile. It's really like trying to connect and dialogue with consumers, which I think is exciting. Kevin joined Twitter over 5 years ago when it was about 40 people, which is pretty wild. He was an engineer working on data and analytics. After about a year, he started working on the ads product pre-launch, and he's led that product ever since. So when not working with Twitter, he says that he's a cyclist and a runner, and he prefers distances longer than a marathon. That made me pause for a sec. Prefers. I guess there's two camps of people. People that prefer a distance longer than a marathon and shorter than a marathon. I would be the latter. Kevin also happens to be a Seattle native, so I think this is kind of special for him. He grew up in Redmond. He went to Inglemoor High School. I don't know, anybody? Yeah, I'm excited about him getting up here and sharing what's going on, not only at Twitter, but how he sees the mobile ecosystem advancing. And without further ado, let's bring up Kevin Weil.
Thanks, Peter, and thanks everybody for being here. Everybody who made it here for the 9 a.m. start, you're already winners in my book. Yeah, I'm Kevin Weil. I head up product at Twitter for our business-facing products, which includes our advertising products, the work that we do with Crashlytics, for example, building mobile developer tools. We had a cool launch on Tuesday, for those of you who saw it, building a great mobile analytics system through Crashlytics, as well as things like our Twitter and TV efforts. You know, we know that Twitter is rapidly becoming the second screen for TV. It's way more interesting to watch Twitter or to watch TV with Twitter with your mobile phone in your hand than it is to watch TV by yourself. But I want to talk today about driving mobile advertising forward. It's without a doubt, mobile advertising has come a long way in 3 years, in the past few years, and the folks, you know, we've come a long way at Twitter. The folks in this room have helped the ecosystem come a long way, and certainly the wonderful people at Has Offers who, having us all here today, have helped that as well. But there's a long way to go, and I don't know of any better way to visualize that than this chart from Mary Meeker. You guys are probably familiar with the yearly report that Mary Meeker puts out. This one shows the relative time spent in a bunch of different media categories, along with the advertising spend. And so you see, you know, the white is time spent. You look at print. People are still spending a lot of money on print, even though people aren't spending a lot of time there. But mobile is the exact opposite. People spend 12% of their time overall on their mobile device, engaging in mobile in different ways, and 3% of the advertising dollars go there. It's a massive opportunity. But when you think about where mobile is today, when you think about targeting, creative, and measurement, and the opportunities that we have there, the things that we have not yet built, it starts to make sense. There's less investment in mobile because there's less, marketers have less of an ability to understand what's working and what's not. Are they reaching the right users? So I'm going to talk about that today, how we as an ecosystem and an industry get there, and also how Twitter is taking our own steps in those directions. But first, let me talk a little bit about Twitter. How many of you are on Twitter? All right, I like it. That was a little better than what we saw with how many of you are advertising mobile apps on Twitter, but we'll get there. So Twitter is unique, and when we think about building products on Twitter, just like Peter was saying, we want to build products that leverage the things that make Twitter unique. The fact that it's live or real time, the fact that it's public, and the fact that it's conversational. You know, you go to Twitter, you follow things that you're interested in. You don't just follow friends, you follow businesses, you follow organizations, you follow world leaders, you follow celebrities. In my case, I'm a runner, I'm a cyclist, I follow the tour, I follow professional cyclists. And so we actually gain an amazing amount of data from the follow graph on Twitter. But you also have these, because you have all these different organizations using Twitter, you have these interactions that literally don't happen anywhere else. There's one that I've loved. So we know the situation in Crimea with Russia and the Ukraine. It turns out all of the embassies are on Twitter, and they actually talk to each other. So in this case, this is the UK embassy in Russia making a political statement about Russia setting up a puppet government. And the Russian embassy in the UK responds back to them and says, you know, we disagree, dear colleagues. Then David Cameron, the Prime Minister of the UK, gets involved. He's actually super active on Twitter, very engaged user. And he calls Barack Obama and starts talking about it, and of course, he has someone take a photo of him while he's calling, and he tweets it out. I do that all the time. I don't know about you guys. But it gets even better. This is when the magic started. So you've got embassies talking to each other. You've got David Cameron, and now watch Patrick Stewart get involved. I'll let him tell the story.
I got this call from my wife saying, I've just seen this tweet. You must look at this right away. And David Cameron tweeted a photograph of himself holding a telephone to his ear and looking serious. The brilliant Rob Delaney, he'd seen this, and what he tweeted was a photograph of him with a tube of toothpaste in his hand instead of a telephone. So I looked around, and there was a tube of wet wipes. So I put this to my ear and put on a very serious face with the same little remarks that Rob Delaney had made. Well, it exploded. It was an hour later before I looked and saw the multitude of photographs that other people had tweeted. I mean, one guy was holding a dog. Somebody else had a baby in their hands, naked little baby. There were bread rolls, there were bananas. It was all very funny. I think there is a hunger for this kind of in-the-moment excitement. And people today are excited by that, by the immediacy of it. It connects them to events. It connects them to people instantly.
Just such a great example of how the things that make Twitter unique, the fact that it's real time, the fact that it's public and it's conversational, you have these things that happen that literally just couldn't happen anywhere else. And building on what Patrick Stewart said about how Twitter is live, there's no more live moment than the World Cup that just happened. One of the things that we see at Twitter, we actually don't even need to watch the games. If you have access to the stats, just like watching requests come in at Twitter, you know the instant a game starts, you know the instant a goal is scored, and you know who did it. You can see, if we watch, this was the Brazil-Croatia game, the very first game of the World Cup. If you watch this play out on Twitter, you know exactly when things happen. So here's all the tweets happening. The game starts, now watch a goal get scored. You see tweets, a goal scored again. As the game ebbs and flows, you see it play out visually. Get ready for another goal. During the Brazil-Croatia game, we set new records for tweets around a live event, and then we broke that record multiple times throughout the World Cup. The Brazil-Germany game, where Brazil ended up getting trounced, there were 35 million tweets just during the 2 hours just about the game. Most of them from mobile, a ton of them actually from the venue. So it's just, there's this live experience. And you guys know this as well as anybody. User behavior is fundamentally changing, and mobile is what's changing it. So this is one of my favorite tweets recently. This guy, Cameron Power from Australia, he's got about 100 followers, but he tweeted this out, and it's got something like 27,000 retweets now. He says, WTF is wrong with this dude? What's he looking at? The world? And then you'd go into the picture. Everyone is looking at their mobile phone, waiting for a train, except for this one dude who's looking around. But 5 years ago, that was the norm. Now, this is the norm, everyone looking at their phone. And it resonates with us because that's all of us, too. And it's not just consumption that's changing, it's also our means of production. We can use our phones to do things, to capture moments like never before. This is from the NBA playoffs, and this is a scene that you normally see on TV. But now watch this guy. He's going to figure in a sec. So what you normally see when you're watching ESPN, when you're watching the final moments of a game, is this.
Foul to give for Houston. 9/10 left. A 3 wins the series. It's Lillard. He got the shot off.
But now you have that guy down there on the court with his mobile phone. So mobile is changing the way we consume, it's changing the way we produce, it's changing the viewpoints that we can give to people, and Twitter's at the center of that. And we've grown a ton. When I joined, I think we had about 10 million users. Now Twitter reaches over 250 million people every month. 78% of those are on mobile devices. You guys probably know the 140 character limit on Twitter actually came from the 160 character limit on SMS. When Twitter launched, we did not have a website. It was a purely mobile product. And we've been mobile from the beginning. It's been a big part of our success, both with our customers and with folks like you guys in the crowd. 65% of our users have downloaded an app in the last 30 days. So it's a very relevant audience for this crowd. And we see over 1 billion tweets every 2 days. It took us, I think, 3 years, 2 months, and 1 day from the beginning of Twitter, from tweet number 1 to get to tweet number 1 billion. And I remember sitting in the office with Evan Williams and a bunch of folks crowded around a monitor watching the tweets count up to 1 billion. Now we do 1 billion tweets every 2 days. So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the mobile app launch that we just did. And actually, Kelton Lin, who's in the crowd, will be up later. He and his team built this basically from scratch over the last 6 months. So there's going to be a lot more discussion about it, I think. But I want to talk about the products that we built to drive app installs and re-engagement on Twitter. And I'm going to do this through the lens of targeting, creative, and measurement. If you look back at where Twitter came from, our first marketers 3.5 years ago were brand marketers. It was Nike, it was Disney, it was Starbucks. But over the last 6 to 12 months, we put a ton of effort into making Twitter a great platform for mobile app discovery and driving mobile app installs. So if you think through targeting, the data assets that Peter talked about earlier, we have 500 million tweets a day. We have a follow graph with billions of edges. And the interesting thing about the follow graph on Twitter, it's asymmetric. You follow whoever you want. So again, the fact that I follow a bunch of professional cyclists, like they don't follow me back. They don't know who I am. But we can learn from that I'm interested in cycling. I follow has-offers. I'm interested in mobile advertising. And through the set of people that I follow, learning which relationships are symmetric, which relationships are asymmetric, we learn an immense amount that we can use to target. So one of the common ways you target on Twitter is interest targeting. You can select from 350 or so different interest categories and reach people interested in basketball, or reach people who love drama movies, or reach people who are chess aficionados. One of the really flexible and interesting and Twitter-specific kinds of targeting is called keyword targeting, where you can think of it like search, except that what you're actually targeting is the keywords that people tweet, the content of their public tweets. So if you're, for example, say you make a car racing game, you can target people who are talking about car racing, who are talking about your competitors, who are talking about other games in the space, and when they tweet those things, all of our work targeting is real time. So it could be that the very next tweet they see is a tweet from your app with a link to a download button. So for you set up your campaigns. You can say, when somebody tweets this, I want to show them this message. When someone tweets this, I want to show them this message. To a user, though, it's live, it's serendipitous. They just talked about something, and the very next thing they see is an ad that's relevant to what the conversation that they were having. That's how we try and build ad products at Twitter. We try and make sure that our ad products are great user experiences that actually make Twitter better. The last bit of targeting that I'll talk to is called tailored audiences. It's one of our newer forms of targeting where you can actually bring first-party data to Twitter. So you can define audiences with your own data, whether that's a website pixel, whether that's CRM data, email addresses, or mobile device IDs, even Twitter user IDs, and then match that against our user base, create audiences. We can, of course, add to that, expand that audience via lookalike matching, and we also can use, and automatically will use, our cross-device asset, the fact that we see users on web and on mobile and on tablet and everything else, to match users and allow you to target cross-device. And then, of course, you can overlay on any of those forms of targeting, location targeting down to the zip code level, gender targeting, and mobile targeting. So you can get granular on iOS versus Android, on operating system versions, on whether there's Wi-Fi or not. You can go down pretty much as far as you want to go. So that's the targeting side. On the creative side, this is where it begins to get interesting. Tweets were 140 characters. Tweets have always been 140 characters. They always will be 140 characters. But increasingly, that 140 characters is a caption onto a richer experience that you have within the tweet. So here are a couple examples where now you tweet photos and the photos show up in line. But we've been doing a lot with that. There are videos on Twitter now, and one of the big things that's changed recently is the development of app install tweets, essentially. So in this case, this is an example of the keyword targeting I talked about earlier. So Ryan Brown is at the Giants game, says, man, the Giants game's packed. I hope I can get a ride home. Hashtag traffic, hashtag stranded. If Lyft is targeting, say, hashtag traffic or get a ride, then the very next time Ryan pulls his timeline, he might see this ad from Lyft, which shows, it comes in with a tweet, comes in with a rich image, and a one-click install right from the timeline. When you click install, of course, the App Store pops right up. You install from Twitter, you're back in Twitter. But there's another problem you guys, I'm sure, are familiar with. A ton of people download apps and then never even use them once. So the team built a great thing that actually, while the download's happening, it's polling, waiting for the download to complete. When we see that the download's completed, we'll actually pop up a notification in Twitter that says, hey, Lyft has been installed. By the way, do you want to go open it? And it will deep link directly into Lyft. So we're not just driving an install for you, we're driving the very first engagement with the user. And these cards are smart. So if you already have Lyft, instead of saying install, it'll say open, and it'll deep link you directly into Lyft. We've seen great examples of how to use that, for example, with Spotify. If you take the keyword targeting that I talked about earlier, take somebody talking about Beyonce, you know they already have the Spotify app, you can show them a promoted tweet that deep links directly into the Beyonce section of the Spotify app. So you're driving re-engagement, but you're driving it in a very natural way, in a very targeted way, based on what someone was just talking about. And then, of course, with all of this comes analytics. You see, it's a complete measurement solution. It shows installs, it shows attempts to install, spend, information about signups. You can put custom events in there. All of this was done with work with a lot of the major ecosystem tracking partners, including, of course, our friends at Has Offers. And you shouldn't just listen to me. We've got a number of great beta partners. So this has been in beta for the last few months, and we actually just did a global launch about 3 weeks ago. 2 Dots was one of our partners. They drove over 1 million app installs and said Twitter has become an essential user acquisition channel for us. Get Taxi said we've become their #1 acquisition channel, and they couldn't be happier. EA has been able to drive a significant number of app installs at or below their CPI targets. SeatGeek, our campaigns have consistently yielded high-quality transactive app users. And Lyft said during the beta we were able to quickly and effectively reach our growth goals at 30% below the original targeted cost. So this is all to say there were a lot of people that raised their hand and said they use Twitter. Historically, we haven't had a great product in market to drive app installs. 4 months ago, we didn't have this product in market. When Peter asked how many people are using it today, there were only a handful of hands. That's okay, we just launched, but this is all to say we've got a product that is driving app installs at scale right now at low CPIs, and anybody who hasn't jumped in should definitely come in and try it out. But that's just on Twitter. People spend a lot of time in Twitter, and we've got 250 million people that are doing it every month, but that's just on Twitter, and there's a lot of time people spend on their phones that isn't Twitter. So about 8 months ago, we acquired a company called MoPub. And the reason we did it was we saw 2 major trends in the market. The world is going mobile. I don't have to tell you guys that. And the world is going programmatic for efficiency, for automation, for scale. And what MoPub does is provide a complete monetization solution for app publishers. Whether you want to serve via whether you want to sell first party and do first party ad serving, whether you want to do ad network mediation or leverage MoPub's exchange, which is the world's largest in-app mobile advertising exchange. MoPub offers all three and provides an end-to-end solution for monetizing your apps. They also have massive reach. So they see, like I said, they're the world's largest mobile app advertising exchange. They see 1 billion plus iOS and Android users every 30 days through their exchange. They're in about 10,000 or 10,000 plus mobile apps. They work with over 100 demand-side partners, 100 DSPs, and the killer thing, they see about 130 billion monthly ad requests. So they're doing 4 to 5 billion ad requests a day. This thing has serious scale and has proven to be a great, the best monetization solution for these 10,000 plus mobile apps. If you use ESPN, if you use CNN, if you use the TV Guide, if you play Clash of Clans, if you play Candy Crush, then you've used MoPub. You've been a part of it. And for us, it's an opportunity to work closely with, if you're a mobile developer, it's an opportunity for us to work closely with you and be the best monetization solution for you. And if you're looking to drive installs, now you can drive installs and re-engagement, not just on Twitter, but on Twitter and through the 1 billion plus users that MoPub sees every month. So, awesome. Like I said, the industry's come a long way. Twitter has come a long way. Twitter and MoPub is going to be an extremely powerful solution, but we still have this slide. It's still the case that mobile is the fastest growing way to spend your time, and the advertising is nowhere near catching up. So why is that? Mobile advertising is just not awesome yet. If you look, mobile ads today are banners. You click them accidentally. They're not a great user experience. Think 5 years ahead. There's no way that mobile advertising looks like this in 5 years. There's no way. Mobile advertising should be an ad that shows in an app that I'm using that feels native to the experience. It should feel like a part of the product that I'm using, and it should be great content. The best ads are actually additive to the user experience, and that's the bar we have to set. It should be targeted to me based on what I've actually been doing. It should be targeted based on maybe where I've been visiting, sites I've been visiting on the desktop. It should be targeted based on actions that I've taken in that app or actions that I've taken in other apps. And ultimately, it should be measured. Every interaction that I take in that ad should be fed into a big cross-device, long-term user value calculating model that actually tells you and informs you of when to reach users and where to reach users. None of those are true today. Instead, we have banners that end up being targeted off of relatively little information in many cases. And with the exception of mobile app installs, which we can track end to end, mobile ads are very difficult to track today. You have these examples, and they're just not great. There's no way that mobile advertising looks like this in 5 years. And so if we can think about where we need to take mobile advertising, we can start to make up that gap. And like Mary Meeker pointed out, making up that gap is a $15 billion opportunity today. And with the rate that mobile usage is growing, it's going to be far more than that tomorrow. So 3 things. Let's look at where we need to go by targeting, looking at the creative, and looking at measurement. And for each of these, I'll talk a little bit about, we have a perspective on it, and we've made some moves aggressively to start building our offering, both on Twitter and off network, towards where we believe this industry needs to go. So we'll talk about that with each one. The first thing is targeting should be better on mobile. We shouldn't be thinking about getting to parity. It shouldn't be that you can target as well as you can on the desktop. Targeting should be better on mobile. There's no device that knows you as well. There's no device that has as much information on where you are and what you're doing. Most apps, most targeting, maybe you know the app that you're targeting, maybe you know a little bit of geo information. All of the work that the ad tech industry has built up around pixels is obviously gone. it starts from scratch all over again. That represents a huge opportunity for people in this room, obviously, but it also means that we're starting from scratch. So how can we help address this? Well, on Twitter, we have a ton of interesting data about users, actually most of it public. So we have a large cross-device data asset. We see hundreds of millions of users on web, tablet, and mobile. So we can bring that to bear. We see 500 million tweets a day, and with each one, a user is telling us what they're interested in, what matters to them, what they're doing. We have this interest graph that has billions of edges. And ultimately, we have a good amount of user information that we can use to match your first-party data and help you define audiences. So we need to bring that to bear to improve targeting. And you're going to see us do that. We're already doing that on Twitter, but we're also beginning to connect Twitter and MoPub so that you can begin to use the Twitter data to target across MoPub and improve the way that you target across the entire mobile ecosystem. We're also extremely committed to MoPub's open ecosystem. So MoPub works with 100 DSPs. You'll see us build products to enable every DSP to leverage Twitter data in an appropriately privacy-sensitive way to improve their targeting as well. So we're not just building for Twitter, we're building for the ecosystem. And we made an acquisition a few weeks ago, actually. I was sort of hoping that we could hold it and announce it here, but it just didn't work out, of a company called Tap Commerce that we really think sees the future of mobile advertising and especially around targeting. So what does Tap Commerce do? First, they create live real-time segments based on how users are using your app. So they're in real time, as users interact with different parts of your app, they're creating segments of all of your users, people who are, for example, if this is e-commerce, they're shopping, they're just browsing, they get actually deep into the funnel, they purchase. Maybe it's a game, and instead you're talking about users that made it to a certain level, users that started making in-app purchases, somebody that got stuck somewhere. They're creating these segments in real time, as deep and as customized as you want to do. And then they're turning those into amazing, relevant ads that deep link back right into the corresponding part of the app. So it's retargeting, and it's deep linking around custom segments. We know from the history of advertising, retargeting is one of the most potent forms of direct response marketing there is. And so with Tap Commerce, they're able to take those segments that users, that are created by users engaging with your app in different ways. They are buying on multiple exchanges, MoPub, but just about every other exchange as well. The creative is tied to the exact segment that the user is in. So if the user was browsing and almost bought a t-shirt, then the ad is actually showing that t-shirt, and it's direct deep linking the user right back into the purchase flow for that t-shirt. So they're connecting all the dots in a way that I think hasn't really been done on mobile before. They're doing it at scale, and one of the exciting things is they've got a bunch of amazing pure mobile customers, but they're also beginning to bring bigger folks, what you call maybe traditional advertisers. Folks like eBay are having massive success through Tap Commerce. So we think there's a ton of potential there. Measurement needs to improve very fundamentally. It should be the case in 5 years that we're not thinking about the challenges of cross-device. Cross-device should be solved. We should expect cross-device measurement and attribution to just work. There are two reasons, like right now, mobile advertising, the mobile advertising that's really, really scaling is around app installs and app re-engagement. There are two reasons for this. One, of course, distribution is key. Everybody needs distribution. But the second is that you can measure app install and re-engagement success. You can measure your goals against your CPIs end-to-end on mobile. There's a massive amount of direct response and brand spend that is not translating to mobile yet because those marketers don't yet know how to measure those things. If you're thinking about brand, you're thinking about engagement, conversation, sentiment, maybe even in-store purchases if you're talking to a CPG advertiser. If you're thinking about direct response, it's website visits, lead generation, e-commerce purchasing. A lot of that happens on mobile, but a lot of it happens in places, I mean, it happens on the web, it happens even in store sometimes. And our measurement solutions aren't there yet on mobile, and so those budgets aren't there yet on mobile. The way to get there is for us to understand cross-device in a very deep way. It means you need a cross-device data asset. You need identity so that you can understand as users move from device to device, maybe even move in physical locations. And you need to be able to tie this back to, for example, in-store purchases or a data logic study that shows that you're driving install or purchase behavior in the real world, not just digitally. One of the things that I love seeing, that I think this group is doing an amazing job of, is we're getting much more sophisticated about understanding LTV. This room in and of itself is, we've come so far in understanding the value of different in-app engagements, the value of engaging users in different places. So we've come a long ways, but there's a long way to go for measurement to really make sense for every kind of marketer, not just a pure mobile marketer. And finally, the future of advertising is native. We strongly believe and have been investing in native advertising. It should be the case that every advertisement you see feels native to the product that you're using, feels like a part of the experience, and ultimately feels natural. That's what's going to be the better user experience, and it's how we built promoted tweets from day one. So we don't show our ads on Twitter are just tweets. They're not ads on the side. They're promoted tweets that show up in the home timeline. We didn't build them on the side. They're not below the fold. They're right front and center in the user experience. It sets a really high bar for the relevance of the ad and for the quality of the ad. But when you do it right, you also get an immense amount of engagement and very high ROI. It's also, for us at Twitter, enabled us to build really rich and engaging ad creative. So it's not just 140 characters, it's articles, it's images, it's video, it's a product card, it's a lead gen card where you can actually submit your email address from a single click right from within a tweet for a product or for information that you care about. It's app downloads like we talked about. All of this comes from the fact that we built our ad product out of our core product. And we believe that that's going to happen, that the way forward is to make that happen across the rest of the mobile ecosystem. So when you talk about MoPub, one of the things that aligned us when we first started talking together was our joint belief in the value of native advertising. And actually, it was one of the first launches that we did together. About 6 weeks after the acquisition of MoPub, we launched native advertising through the exchange. So how does that work? How do you get native advertising where it feels native to the publisher and feels custom through an exchange, which is based on OpenRTB, is programmatic and is definitely not custom? The things that are traded on the exchange are the actual assets. For an app install ad like you see there in Tango, it's the name of the app, the rating, the photo, and the app ID. Those are traded through the exchange, but then when Tango, through MoPub's exchange, gets that winning ad, it's up to them, it's up to the publisher to render that in a way that feels natural to the user experience. So Tango was one of our launch partners for this back in December, and you can see in Tango, which is like a messaging app, it's you're getting messages from friends, and an app install ad in Tango looks like you got a message from Clash of Clans. It's not a banner on the bottom, it's actually built into their UI. And it also, they've done a great job of weaving it throughout the whole product. So you get an app install ad when you're in the sort of expanded part of the experience. You see the bigger expanded Clash of Clans ad with a direct install button. When you're in more of the inbox view, it's the same ad in the same place in your inbox, just with a different form. They've made it feel native the whole way through, and the results so far have been fantastic. The engagement is higher, the ROI that we see with our partners is higher, and users prefer it. Actually, Tango's a great example. Tango refused to put ads in their app before because they didn't believe that they were a good enough experience. With native ads, they've been they've been thrilled with the experience, and they're making a bunch of money. And we've continued to invest in native advertising. So about a month and a half ago, we acquired a company called Nemo Media. We're a small company that was innovating in native advertising. They were building great exchange-traded native advertising. They were working with the IAB now to actually build native into the OpenRTB spec, and ultimately they had a great SDK that made it even easier for publishers to integrate native advertising. So you're going to see us continue to push for native advertising. We believe that advertising should be a great experience for the user, and when that happens, it ends up being more valuable for the publisher and ends up being higher ROI for the marketer. We're going to get there together. There's a ton to think about. There's a lot of smart people in this room, and we ultimately are going to need the help of everyone, of all of you, to move mobile advertising forward in the way that it needs to go. If you are an app developer, we'd love to work together and help MoPub help you monetize your app, ultimately make the most from what you've built. If you're looking for installs and distribution, we now, as of our launch 3 weeks ago, have a great product that can drive app installs at scale, at great CPIs, and you can join that with MoPub and reach the billion-plus users across MoPub. And if you're an ecosystem partner, you know the world doesn't, like, none of this happens without you. The day will totally come when mobile advertising is better than desktop advertising. We're not there yet, but it will be better. And I hope I've showed you today that our goals at Twitter are big. We're working hard across this whole ecosystem, whether you're an app developer, a publisher, an advertiser, or an ecosystem partner, to make this a reality. We're like 2 steps down this path. We're just at the beginning, but we have big goals, and we're excited to be a part of helping you reach your goals as well. Thank you.